good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. So today is April 28th, 2023, 10:38 a.m. on the East Coast. Thank you all so much for joining me. Let me turn this phone down, otherwise it will annoy us all. How's everyone doing this morning? Hope you are well. While you guys are settling in, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. It lets other people know. Come on in. We appreciate that, and it really helps out the channel as well. This is not going to be an extremely long live, but this is a horrific case. Really horrific. New information coming out about little Bella, who was tragically murdered by a step parent, if you will. I'm going to share this with you. She was stuffed in a bucket, wheeled across down the road, and her mother, bio mother, woke up to find her daughter in a bucket in the front yard. Unimaginable. Really unimaginable. There is an autopsy report. That's not the one I wanted to show you. Give me 1 second. And okay, here we go. This was it. Let me pull this up here. Just insanity. So the community obviously is shocked. I mean, can you imagine? First, I'm going to show you what happened, and this is a trigger warning. This is hard to watch.
Good morning, students. Today we have Miss Elliott covering.
It's extremely hard to watch, and then we're going to get into it, but just as context of what happened. As you see here, there is a woman walking across the sidewalk. She has a wagon. This is caught by the door camera. Then she wheels it into her mother's. This one is really difficult, to say the least. To say the very least. Where is my... Okay. Sorry, guys, I'm having a little bit of problemo here. Now we're going... Let me show you something else. We are learning about the monster that did this.
Natasha Robert explains.
She had the biggest smile. It seemed to be, she was the first one that would approach you, and share and just giggle and how you doing.
The Harahan community is still reeling from the tragic death of 6-year-old Bella Fontenelle.
Look at this baby. Good to see you, Alabama. Good morning, Nurse Sandy. Look at her. She was stuffed in a fucking bucket.
Would see the little girl and her older sister out in the driveway playing many times, riding their little bikes, and the mother would sit out there with them. The grandmother and grandfather would sit out there with them, and it was just so beautiful to watch them.
Investigators say her father's girlfriend, Hannah Landon, also known as Bunnick Landon, killed little Bella, stuffed
This evil witch did this to her. Witch. You know something? I bet God will have enough room to stuff you in hell.
her in a 10-gallon chlorine bucket and left it on her mother's front lawn late Tuesday night. The sheriff's office says it recovered surveillance video showing Landon walking down the street that night with a wagon in tow, carrying the bucket. She's now booked with first-degree murder and obstruction of justice and is being held without bond.
We've been a small bedroom community for years. You know, we average a murder once every 3.5, 4 years. And it's a tragic thing.
Harahan Police Chief Edward LaPrey says just after midnight, early Wednesday morning, Landon came into the Harahan Police Station asking for help.
Officer spoke to her. She seemed a little bit out of it. And they called to have her, she was asking for a transport. So they called for an ambulance to come pick her up. And once the ambulance came and picked her up, they transported her to a local hospital to be evaluated.
And that's where police say they eventually located and arrested her for murder. People who live near Bella's mother say they're in shock.
I thought everything was all American, as you would say. You know, I know she was working through a stressful divorce. She did share that. But it seemed to be, she was okay with it. I mean, she seemed to be moving forward with that situation.
But court documents show there was conflict between the mother and Landon or Lim dating back to 2021. In one incident, court documents show the two women got into a physical confrontation during a
So we know that in some of these cases that a mother will murder a child due to the fact they want to get back to their husband, or it's usually the mother. Sometimes it's the father, but it's usually the mother in these cases. But in this case, it is the stepmother was fighting, you know, I guess apparently with the bio mother, and did this. Revengeful Willow. Yeah. Revengeful.
swim meet for one of the kids, and Bella's father had to intervene. In another incident, the two seemed to scuffle during a soccer game. Chief LaPrey says the investigation into the little girl's murder is far from over.
We're going to work to the end to try to make sure we get a conviction. This is a small baby, and any family would be devastated. I can only imagine what the mother and father is going through right now.
When it happens 2 doors down from your house and you look outside and you see multiple policemen, it is like, what in the world is going on here?
People who live in this neighborhood still cannot believe what happened, but they say they're leaning on each other to cope with the tragedy. In Harahan, Natasha Robin, Fox 8, Local First.
Just absolutely evil. We'll watch what the coroner said.
On the cause of the death of the
Good
6-year-old.
afternoon. My name is Dr. Jerry Satanovich, doing a follow-up on the autopsy yesterday of Bella Fontenelle, 6-year-old female. The autopsy was performed yesterday by Dr. Dana Troxclair and Dr. Michael DeFata, two of our forensic pathologists, along with the staff here at the Jefferson Parish Coroner's Office. The autopsy was done with dignity and respect. Yesterday, a decision was made to not release any details of the cause of death, although we did release manner of death as homicide. That was done for two reasons. First was to allow law enforcement the opportunity to interview their suspect before release of any information. And more importantly, the autopsy was performed yesterday afternoon. We didn't want to release any information to the public, obviously, until we were able to explain the circumstances to the family and explain all their, answer all their questions, excuse me. So those notifications have been made. So I'm ready to release some information today because we really want to get ahead of and dispel a lot of these rumors that are running rampant on social media. Our preliminary cause of death, as determined by the forensic pathologist, is manual strangulation along with multiple blunt force injuries to the head. It's important, I want to mention there was no dismemberment involved. And before I finish, I want to say also, EMS, 911 operators, law enforcement, the coroner staff, this is not something we're happy to do. It's something it's hard to see, and it's even more hard to unsee. And our hearts go out to the families of this poor young girl.
Questions?
How shocking or how terrible is it to see something like this happen to a 6-year-old and for these findings to be released?
Well, we're all either a brother, a sister, or a mom or a dad. So, everybody has a way to relate to what happened, to this poor girl and to her family.
You said multiple blunt force trauma. Do you know how many times?
No, it's multiple.
I know in every case is typically difficult, but tell me how difficult was it for you all dealing with the traumatic experience with this 6-year-old child, being that she died from blunt force trauma to the head. Tell me about that.
Well, look, the staff here is very, very professional, and we're used to tragic circumstances, and there are cases that stand out, and when it's a child, it certainly rings differently, and it's no different for us as it is for the EMS people who had to go out and confirm death, and the law enforcement people who had to go and investigate this death. It's, quite honestly, it's personal for all of us.
Do we know if the child was deceased before she was put into the bucket?
Our anticipation would be that yes. Yes. No, the answer to that question is yes. Excuse me.
Can you tell us how many times blunt force trauma was applied to her?
Difficult to tell. There was multiple soft tissue injuries around the head, so we don't have an exact count.
Any idea what kind of weapon was used?
No, not at this point. No, not that we're in. Well, that's a question for law enforcement. Sorry.
I know you all mentioned that you had to speak to the parents beforehand before being able to release this to the public. Can you tell me a little bit about how that conversation went to tell these parents the traumatic experience that happened with their child?
Difficult. I mean, I'll just start off with myself. Difficult for me, more difficult for them, and difficult for the staff members that were with me and who spoke to them before I got there. It's just not an easy thing to have to relay to somebody, but we did. We answered all their questions, and I hope that they're satisfied with how this was handled, by everybody involved, not just my office, but by law enforcement as well.
Harper, is this one of the hardest autopsies you've ever had to do?
Man, we've had some tough ones. I mean, it's hard to categorize one over the other. I mean, there's a lot of very tragic circumstances. This one sticks out because it's today. This one sticks out also to me. I'm a parent of 4 kids, so child deaths are always terrible, especially ones like this that should not have happened.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And you just heard from the Jefferson Parish Coroner, Jerry Satanovich.
This one really gets me. It really gets me because, you see that woman wheeling a wagon with a bucket and knowing a child is in it. It's just beyond. I mean, just the evilness that it takes. Thank you, Kumi. And you're absolutely right. This is personal. When someone dies of strangulation, this is heartbreaking. The excuse me, the personal, that is a rage and a hatred that is unlike anything. For what? This was just a precious little girl who went to school and played with dolls. I mean, can you imagine telling her friends at school and the people that knew her? Um, all right. I mean, think about it. There's a kid in that bucket. I agree, Vet Girl. I agree. "43-year-old Louisiana woman was arrested for allegedly killing her boyfriend's 6-year-old daughter." Now, the parents have been cleared and they have absolutely nothing to do with it. I wonder if there was any abuse. Like, did she ever abuse little Bella? Stuffing the child's remains into a large plastic bucket, then using a wagon to transport and drop off the bucket at the home of the victim's mother. Think about the evilness that is involved here. Not only the manual strangulation and the breaking of bones and everything, the violence that went off, stuffing this baby in a bucket, wheeling her down the street and dropping the bucket in the mud. Like, there is no bigger nightmare that I can think of. There's no bigger nightmare that I can think of. Thank you, Kathleen, for becoming a member, honey. I appreciate your membership. Thank you. Hannah Landon was taken into custody on Wednesday and charged with first-degree murder in the slaying of young Bella. According to the press release from Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, Bella's father on Wednesday morning awoke to find his daughter and girlfriend were both missing from his home about 10 miles northwest of New Orleans. An older male child was still in the home and unharmed, JPSO said. The father, at about 7:30 a.m., arrived at the police station and reported the two missing. Approximately 15 minutes later, officers arrived at the father's home and began investigating the whereabouts of the missing woman and child. At about 8:20 a.m., so what, 50 minutes later, the investigation moved to the home of Bella's biological mother, located just down the road, where in which only around the corner and less than 2 blocks away from Bella's father's residence. At this location, officers discovered the victim's remains inside a large plastic bucket in the front yard. The victim was pronounced dead at the scene. Police then contacted the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office and the agency's Major Crime Task Force assumed responsibility for the investigation into Bella's death. Sheriff Joseph Labantino said during a press conference Wednesday, JPSO investigators say they quickly honed in on Landon, which is the stepmother, who the sheriff's office described as an Asian female that goes by the name Bunik Lum or Liam or Landon as the primary suspect in this case. While attempting to locate Landon, the sheriff's office obtained a Ring doorbell surveillance footage from neighbors in the area, which say showed Landon late the previous night pulling a wagon containing a bucket down both the streets to the home, toward Bella's biological mother. The chilling video appears to show Landon at approximately 9:33 p.m. casually walking down the street with the wagon and bucket in tow, making no attempts to hide the dead child, even when a white minivan drives right past her. She's not walking in a hurry or anything. She's just doing her thing, right? Like, the value of human life by some people is just none. We believe Bella was killed at the father's house and then transported over to the mother's house and then taken out of the wagon. Noting that Bella was murdered Tuesday evening, authorities conducted an autopsy on Wednesday afternoon and determined Bella's manner of death was homicide. The case of death is being withheld for the investigation, but the cause of death. But we now know that, which I just showed you with the coroner, that it was from several blunt force trauma blows to the head of the soft tissues and to the head region. Well, this old witch was found at the hospital. So she went to the hospital. Why did you go to the freaking hospital?
Sheriff's Office. I'm here with the Harahan Police Chief Ed Lepre, the Jefferson Parish Coroner Jerry.
No, you can't hear it. Just beyond anything. It really is frazzled. It's just a whole another level of evil. I mean, you literally just can't even begin to think about the level of evil of doing that to a child and then dropping her off in a bucket at the bio mom's home. There were 943 homicides in Louisiana in 2021. The state also had a homicide death rate of 21.3 per 100,000 that year. Following the discovery of Bella's body, police began to search Hannah Landon, 43, the girlfriend of the child's father. She used the, okay. I don't know. So in closing, it says, keep St. Matthew School family in your thoughts and prayers. I would also like to thank the citizens of the community for their continued cooperation and support, is what the chief wrote. It sounded like she went to a Catholic school, and, you know, just can't imagine telling the kids at all. Let me see here. Here's the witch. I'll show you her mugshot. There's the witch. She looks like there's just coldness, absolute coldness. And here's the beautiful little girl that she did this to. 6. Years old. The autopsy determined that the girl's death was by homicide and that the body exhibited, quote, multiple injuries that would be detailed at a later date. Let's see here. They found her in a 10-gallon chlorine bucket. So I don't know if you know anything, but there's a 5-gallon bucket, which is what, like, you get like paint and stuff in, and then there's the 10-gallon, so it's bigger than, obviously it's double the size of a 5-gallon bucket. It's a 10-gallon bucket. They're like taller, they're longer. Let's see if there's anything else. The bucket left at the mother's home was discovered by the police who were canvassing the neighborhood for signs of the missing child. They don't know who opened the bucket. My God, can you fucking imagine the person? God, pray for them, whoever opened that bucket. Hold on. Come on, where's the volume?
It's still tough thinking about it.
Throughout the quiet streets of the Imperial Woods subdivision, neighbors are stunned by the news of 6-year-old Bella Fontenelle's passing. The child's body found stuffed into a chlorine bucket early Wednesday morning. Across Sedgefield Street, One man remembers welcoming the mother to the area.
Yeah, I had a neighborly relationship with her. She was a great person. Every time I talked with her, I would stop for a few minutes and just have a nice little sweet conversation, tease the little girls a little bit, just to welcome her in the neighborhood. She was a single mother. She was trying to raise those kids correctly, and hardworking mother. Her parents visited quite often. I would see that. I would see them quite often playing in the front yard, and it was just a sweet thing to see.
Waking up to the unthinkable news.
I'm amazed. I just found out.
It was heart-wrenching to know that there was a possibility of a body being in there, which we found out later that it was.
Neighbors say they could never be ready to hear that the suspect was someone so close to the family. Hannah Landon, the girlfriend of the child's father, who lives around the block.
Small community in Harahan. I mean, they've had a murder every 50, 60 years. It just doesn't happen. But it's, again, it just tells the story of it's the evil and the ugliness of people's hearts these days is everywhere.
Filled with anger and grief, the community tries to make sense of the horrific scene.
There is no more morality in this world. This is the final generation where people just don't care about anything but themselves.
Fontenelle was a kindergarten student at St. Matthew the Apostle School in River Ridge. The school's canceled classes for the rest of the week in order for families to grieve together, and support services will be available for students and faculty when classes resume on Monday morning. Reporting live in Harahan, Maddie Kurth, Fox 8, Local First. Neighbors saying there was no
Crap, I'm still muted. I thought I unmuted twice. Sorry. We have notified our facility of today's events, but we have not shared anything with our students. We delayed this notification in efforts to shield our kids from tragic news. We feel it is best for them to be. I got it, ICU. Sorry. We delayed this notification in efforts to shield our kids from the tragic news. We feel it is best for them to be with you when the news reaches them. The school will hold prayer services Friday for young Bella, her school, and community. On their Facebook page, they write, as the community grieves for this precious little girl taken from us much too soon, we pray for Bella's family everyone who knew Bella and the SMA community, and everyone who was saddened by the terrible news. They also write, please join us tomorrow, Friday, April 28th at 3 p.m. in church for a prayer service to Bella and her family and the St. Matthew's School. So, little Bella. Thank you all. Appreciate you being here. It's not going to be a very long live. I just wanted to give an update on this. If anything happens with this, I will, which obviously, in my opinion, she'll be found guilty, I hope. And I will keep you guys up to date on this. Please do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys very soon. I'll be live later this evening, about 5 or 6 p.m. And I'll be live on my second channel, maybe in a little bit, or on Kick. Thank you all. I appreciate it. This one really hit hard. Very hard. Anyway, thank you all. Appreciate you. Love you all. And have a good day. Be good to one another.